on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Which, actually, the next one we can kind of put in, well, the next two we can kind of put into one, is about the Pokemon 20th anniversary.
Okay.
So this year marks the 20th anniversary of when Pokemon first came out, as far as like the games and apparently the cards as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because they released the trading card game a little after they released the actual video game for Game Boy.
And to mark the 20th anniversary, they have a crap ton of stuff planned. I mean, stuff for their website as far as the shop stuff. The main ones that we know of right now, we've heard of overseas. There's supposed to be like a somewhat transparent 2DSs being released with digital versions of Pokemon Blue, Red, Yellow, and I think Green in some places.
Well, I was about to say, overseas it would more than likely be green, because the way that it broke down, in Japan they got green and red, in America we got blue, red, and yellow. I don't think Japan actually got a yellow until like way after the American release.
Well, overseas they're getting a yellowish 2DS with yellow. So.
Yeah.
But over here in the US, we're just getting a new 3DS that's got two clamshells, one for red, one for blue, and it's going to have the download for red and blue.
Yep. Yep, I remember that one.
And an actual, I guess, a theme type thing on it as well, as in the menus. That's a nice little thing for the 20th anniversary, but that's not the only thing. They're reprinting and relabeling like the first, well, I wouldn't quite say first, but more or less the base set of the Pokemon trading card game and labeling it as Generations.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. Okay, yeah.
And also, they're going to be remastering the first three Pokemon movies.
Yep.
The Mewtwo Strikes Back, Pokemon 2000, I think, and the third one, The Spell of the Unknown.
Yep.
And a few places I've seen actually have like DVDs and the three movies in a Blu-ray set available for like a pre-order.
I can believe that.
And most of these things are going to be coming out in February. And these are some awesome ways to celebrate the 20th anniversary, and they're not just stopping there. They're talking about, oh yeah, in 2016 we're also releasing the Pokkén tournament game for the Wii U. We're also got this Pokemon Go coming out for the Android iDevices. And
oh yeah, that's the one that's supposed to be the cell phone game where you wander around and you can find Pokemon in real life type of thing, right?
Yeah. And then
okay, yeah.
There's also supposed to be some more Pokemon distributions to market as well.
I believe it.
And I know for a fact that I think GameStop is supposed to be getting Mew as the first one.
Well, technically, when it comes right down to it, outside of like Mario, Pokemon is one of their bigger heavy hitters. Like, not just from the actual video games or the trading card game or the movie, but like, more people grew up with Pokemon than with most of the other Nintendo, like, library, if you want to put it that way, like, they're heavy hitters. So when it comes right down to it, you have more people who can sit around and talk about Pokemon than people that can actually sit and agree with, like, Mario games.
Trying to figure out about the Mario, so that's going to be difficult.
Yep, exactly.
You make more sense with a Pokemon than you do with the Mario line.
Yep, exactly. Especially considering the fact that you have problems where, like, Super Mario Brothers 2 wasn't actually Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan was actually released over here as the Lost Levels, whereas Super Mario Brothers 2, the one that we got, was actually Doki Doki Panic, which literally translates to Crazy Crazy Panic. but they reskinned it with Mario skins for your main characters. That later got a release along with the All-Stars collection. Only in Japan, they had to change it from being Super Mario Bros. 2 to actually being Super Mario Bros. USA. What else? I know there's another one from Mario, and I can't remember. Like, a really crazy one. Well, I mean, other than, of course, the different translations, because, of course, the different regions have different problems, but when it comes down to Pokemon, there's really never been any, like, conspiracies or controversies with Pokemon other than in the original version of the game, like the actual red, blue, green, yellow. When you get to, I think it's Indigo, the city where the Pokemon graveyard is.
Oh.
That music apparently was so haunting that it actually caused kids to develop depression and commit suicide.
Well, then again, we could also go into the stuff that was taken out of the animated cartoon series as well, but...
yeah, that's true, but I mean, then again, considering the fact of it was just, if I remember correctly, just Porygon.
Well, it was Porygon, Tentacruel episode, there was like quite a few that had guns, James had boobs.
Yeah, but that's because James actually wasn't a guy. In Japan, it was actually two females were the ones in Team Rocket. That's why they were constantly going out of their way to try to capture Pokemon, was because they were actually trying to, like, date Giovanni. Like, that was their whole point in life, was they were actually supposed to be going out of their way to try to collect as many different and rare Pokemon, so that way then Giovanni would like them and they could try to date him.
And then
it came down to a matter of once it came over here, oh, well, we can't have it being that guys are good and girls are bad, so let's just change this other chick into a dude, seeing as how she's already pretty much fairly flat-chested.
And, of course, there's also the whole Jinx thing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Jinx.
Yeah.
Right.
But with all the stuff that they've announced and talked about for the 20th anniversary, what part of it do you actually like the most that you've heard of?
When it comes right down to it, because I know that you had been talking about it on the group chat with the guys, and you were like, yeah, I'm thinking about getting up the Pokemon 3DS. And I was like, yeah, that kind of does sound like a good idea, just for the simple fact of my 3DS has been owned by 3 different people, including myself. And if you hold it weird, sometimes it'll just randomly shut off on you. So that's a battery problem. Now, I can easily give it to a friend of ours who pretty much all he'd need to do is go in, unscrew the screws, make sure that the battery's connected properly, and then re-screw everything back in together. But at the same time, it might be kind of cool to actually get the rare Pokemon thing.
Yeah.
But like you said, and like Bill had said, essentially all it is it's just a cover that's going to go over top your 3DS. Like, what's the point? You know, you could technically, after a while, GameStop and pretty much anywhere else that has it, they'll just start selling it for dirt cheap because there's kind of no point, in just selling the entire package. You know what I mean? With it already connected. Plus, people will get it, be like, oh, well, I just got it because I wanted a 3DS. I didn't care that it was Pokemon. And then they'll just sell the case. You know what I mean? Like the actual clampy portion that you just snap over the top of it. Now, the fact that they are re-releasing all 4 games, like I'm not sure if we'll actually get Leaf Green over here or not.
No. It's just the Game Boy versions.
Okay, so it is just the regular Game Boy version?
It's just red, blue, and then the yellow is the color one.
Okay. No, I know that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't know if they're just going to, like, throw them out as digital versions, if there's going to be actual copies or whatnot. But,
it is digital.
Getting it. It is all digital?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah, just going to the eShop and getting it. I mean, hell, that's not that terrible, and I might actually do that. I mean, don't get me wrong. If they were the updated versions, I might play it a little bit more because in the updates, like Fire Red and Leaf Green and that, they actually changed around a few things to make them like play a little bit better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just going back and replaying them, I do that all day long, no problem.
Yeah.
Like I constantly, every now and again, I'll get the urge like Bill does to sit down and play Pokemon, and I'll go out and I'll get an emulator for my phone, and I'll download like the Pokemon Silver, because Silver was my jam. Like when it came down to Gen 2, Silver was like hands down the best, just because you could actually still go back to Kanto and run through like the original gym circuit. So Silver was hands down my jam, but when it came to the others, like playing Red or Blue, those were always awesome. I mean, the only other thing that I might do is I might get Yellow, just because it's always cool to actually like get the Pikachu at the start. But the problem with that one is because you have the Pikachu at the start as that gimmick, and it is your starter Pokemon, it kind of bones you if you don't know where the other Pokemon are to help you. Like, you have to know where the Mankey is, so you could get the Mankey and train him up to have fighting moves so you could beat Brock.
I know.
The fact that you can get all of the starters in that game is pretty awesome, but at the same time, you still know how to be able to get up to Brock to be able to move on to the rest of the game, so you can get your Bulbasaur and your Charizard and your Squirtle, so you could turn them into almighty, ungodly, kill everything team.
I know when I checked at work, I think a couple days ago or something, when I checked the digital content that's coming out for like upcoming stuff, it did show Red, Blue, and Yellow listed, and the prices are about $10.
Yeah, which, like I said, that's not really that ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's an actual copy, so I don't have to worry about, like I said, getting a ROM where sometimes people don't complete the ROMs, so you can't actually play the game in its entirety. Because sometimes they'll actually do that. Like, they won't tell you that it's essentially like a hardcore version of the game, where there's an actual internal timer in it. And if you don't beat that internal timer, your game's done. You can't play it anymore. So you only have X amount of time to grind, X amount of time to get all the badges, X amount of time to beat the Elite Four.
I know. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in this new 3DS, so much so that I did actually put it down on reserve. I know I'm looking forward to just about everything that was announced, except for, I think, some of the stuff for their Nintendo or Pokemon shop stuff, but I'm interested in the Generation card re-release. I'm interested in the 3DS, the new 3DS. I'm definitely interested in re-getting the Pokemon movies for Blu-ray.
The movies, I'm not as much. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, when the first movie came out, my old man was working, like, down the street from a Burger King, and I guess the manager had came in, and she needed, like, some work done on her car. Well, he knew that she was the manager at the Burger King, because he was going there to lunch and stuff, and he said, "Here, I'll make you a deal. You get me all 6 of the gold Pokemon cards that came in their own Pokeball, and I'll knock a few bucks off the price for what it's going to cost you to get your car done." So literally, we had all of the golden cards. Like, I don't know what happened to them, but we had all of them. And that was, like, one of the coolest things about when that movie came out. Like, I remember seeing the first 2 movies in the theaters, because, you know, me and my brother were hardcore into it. My sister not as much, but she still enjoyed watching the show. So we all saw the first movie in theaters. We went and saw the second movie in theaters. I think it came around to being the third movie, and I remember I skipped out on it because I'd finally gotten past that point in time where I was like, all right, Pokemon's cool, but enough with the anime. I don't care about the anime anymore. I'm done with that. I might play the games every now and again, but after that, I don't care. So I think I went and saw something else, but I'm not as big into them as I used to be. Like, the movies are cool and all that, but again, after a while, you start realizing that the anime is kind of a joke.
Well, I know that when they say remastering of these first 3 movies, it's not just on Blu-ray, they're remastering them digitally as well.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm going to be curious about the Pokemon Go when it comes out.
I'm hit and miss on it.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm curious.
I'm curious about it, but somebody had told me, I think it was you, had told me the company that did it, and I got a game from the company that did it, and the game was not worth my time. Like, the game was the exact same thing that Pokemon is doing, where essentially what you have to do is actually get up out of your house and either drive or walk to the location, which is kind of cool in its own right. But the game that they had released was you were supposed to go there and you're supposed to be fending off an alien invasion, and the alien invasion is taking place through the internet. It was kind of like a They Live type of thing.
Okay.
Where as long as you had this app, like the game, you could actually go and sit down, and you had to collect like data points, and by collecting data points it would allow you to get like defenses to defend yourselves from the aliens and all the different people, like different hackers trying to like steal your stuff. And you had to scan QR codes or go to the different landmarks. Like I know one of them was the bowling alley up the street from Bill's, which you would imagine would be the movie theater over in Pekin, but instead it's the bowling alley up the street from Bill's. And you'd have to pull up in the parking lot and start doing like a download from the game into this like quote hot spot that was magically put into the bowling alley. And I was like, this is retarded. There's no point in this. Like, by the time I would finally be able to drive somewhere that actually had it, because mind you, I got the game in the middle of the winter, so it's not like I'm walking anywhere. Screw that, too cold. But by the time I would drive somewhere, find a spot to park, sit down and screw around with my phone, and then drive away, I'd start looking like I was a crazy person. Now, when it comes down to the Pokemon game, that might be a little bit different because you're going to have more people doing it. Like, not just kids, but adults as well, so they're not going to look as psychotic doing it. Especially when they're walking around with a little Pokeball that you have to carry around with you that you have to buy separate for your phone.
Well,
which is essentially like a GPS tracker to help you figure out where the Pokemon is, but...
Well, one of the weird things about that Pokemon Go game is the trailer that they showed, all the Pokemon were the first gen.
Yep.
And there was not any kids playing.
No, I could have sworn there was a couple kids playing. Like, they were playing with their parents, but...
The parents were the ones doing most of the gameplay stuff, and the grown-ups were, so... You didn't see any little kids.
Well, again, that's because it also comes down to a matter of, I can already guarantee you, this is not, regardless what they say, this is not a free-to-play. This will be a pay-to-play game.
Well, there's going to be, a lot of the stuff is going to be free, but...
Well, the app will be free. You're going to have to pay for their little Pokeball GPS thing, so you can figure out if you caught the Pokemon or whatnot. But... it's going to be like a lot of different phone games. Most phone games are pay to play. Or, well, pay to win, rather. There's a lot of games that I play that are absolutely free, but if you want to win at the game, pay this company that gave you this application and game for absolutely free, pay them money and they'll help you out with stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure there's going to be, like, a set rest period for you to get the PP for your moves back after you've, captured a Pokemon. If you're injured, you're going to have to wait for them to rest up normally. But if you pay me $10 in real U.S. American currency, I'll give you 5 potions for you to use on your Pokemon so you can get back to battling quicker. What's that? You need some Pokeballs to actually capture the Pokemon because you're still going to need those in order to play? Okay. Pay me $15 and I'll give you 20 Pokeballs. That's a decent deal, especially for a phone game. But considering the fact that if you just want one more Pokeball, and I'm talking the normal random, like normal everyday red and white Pokeball, they'll charge you $1 for that. You want a you want a Great Ball or an Ultra Ball? Yeah, that's going to probably be $2 to $3 per ball that you have to pay to an online company in order to play this game for free. Yeah.
Now, speaking of Pokemon and the 20th anniversary, that leads into the next bit of news article.